Hello, this is Kai, and this is another video in our Beginner's Guide to Web Development series. So, where did we leave off? Well, last time we left off with this directory that we created called My Awesome Site, and inside of here we had three HTML files which we created. Let's take a quick look at them real quick. We had our index page, which is of course always going to be the default homepage. That's just how it works. So we have my awesome site, welcome. We have an image here. We have an H1 tag, and then we have an H3 tag. This image is sourced locally. If I right click this and do inspect, I'll go over here and I can see in my inspector that this image source is not coming from the internet, but it's coming from a directory called images, and the file name is burritocat.jpg. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and then we'll open up the other two files that we created, and we'll take a look at these HTML files instead of the actual page. Zoom in a little bit, come over here. And now we had these comments that we entered in last time, and like we said, these comments don't get interpreted by the browser. These are just for humans to read so we can have better documentation on our files. So if I go ahead and open this in the browser, let me zoom out a little bit, we'll see that all we see is this H1 tag that says placeholder for family dinner. Placeholder text for family dinner, and that's all we have here. We don't see any of these other things. Alright, that's cool, it's cool, and if I'm not mistaken, this file should be very similar, where we just have a placeholder text. So what we're actually going to do today is, it doesn't matter which file we work in, we're going to be talking about another tag known as a div tag, and what that looks like is just simply div, like that. That is the only command to start our div tag, and what these are, these div tags, we have to close it too in anticipation, is a logical division unit. And I guess the best way I can explain that is by just going straight up into it. We can create sections, I guess, in our HTML document by calling in these division tags. So I'll start that by adding in something known as an ID. Now these IDs are important if we want to reference these tags or these elements in other languages such as PHP or CSS, and it's going to be really important as we progress through this series. So I'll just give it a tag of container, and by default you should be putting everything that you create inside of a div named container, just so we can have the whole document better organized. And as we use these div tags, you'll see how we go better into organization. So what I'm going to call this div right here, I'm going to identify it by calling it my header. We'll make everything in here be the heading of our HTML page. And then I'll do placeholder text for family roster. Now if I save this and then I zoom out, open it in browser, we see that really nothing has changed. So what is this div tag? Well, I guess I can further illustrate really what this div tag is by adding in some colors to them. So let's do one more div. We'll add in another div, and we'll close that in anticipation just right away. And now I'm gonna give this div an ID of body. So really everything in here is gonna be in, instead of body, let's give it main. Make it a little bit more clear. We'll put this will be the main part of the HTML document that we're looking at. It's going to be separate from this family roster. Now I can just illustrate that by going ahead and doing a paragraph tag. And this is just if I want to enter in plain text. I'll just go ahead and put something like, wow, these div tags are really cool, aren't they? Question mark. Push save, refresh, and we noticed we noticed that we didn't have to do a break tag anywhere. It does that automatically. These div tags give some spacing. Now, I really want to drill in how these div tags logically divide our page. So I'm going to start adding in some color to these to just show you how they're separated. And I'll add in color by doing a CSS tag, sort of. So remember I say that when we do the style right here, when we add in style anywhere, really what we're doing is we're adding in CSS or cascading style sheets to our HTML document. And we'll go in future tutorials, we'll go in depth on how to add in CSS more, I don't want to say correctly, but more, more neatly, I suppose. But for now, we'll just use this style. We'll just type in style is equal to, and then I'm going to give it a background color. So I'm going to do background color, and then of course we use colons and semicolons once we're inside these parentheses, background color of green. And then I'm going to make the width, I'll make width 100% just because I want it to fill up the screen width-wise. And then I'll make the height, instead of using percentages for here, I'm going to just use pixels. And I'm going to give it a height of 50 pixels for this main background color. I'm going to copy this style, and now I'm going to put it in my first header over here. Add in a color. I don't want it to be the same color, so instead of green, I'm going to make the color blue. And now if I save that, zoom out, go ahead and refresh this page, we'll in fact see that now we have two logical divisions in our page, one of them being the header, the other one being the body of everything, and you see that we can assign them different background colors. Now again, we've gone over this tag, the color tag, so I'm going to add in a color. I don't want the text to be black anymore. I want, for my header, I want the text to be white, so I'll go ahead and do that, color white. And then for the bottom, I want this text to be red, so I'll do, after the semicolon, I'll do color, colon, red. And that, save it, we'll zoom out, and then we'll refresh the page. And now we see that we've changed the text. That's pretty cool. So we'll stop there with the div tags. We'll touch more on what these are. Now, I really want to be able to get between my pages, because right now I can't get to anything from anything, right? I can't really access these pages. Now, it's important to note that I can go ahead and just type in the file path right here. So if I type in family dinner, I'm of course gonna be created with something wrong because it's a live demo, but here, we'll go into the Finder. I will open this with Google Chrome, and I'll see if I just copy the file path name and type it in here, then we are able to get to that file. And what's happening with this family dinner? For some reason, it's acting a little funky. Oh, you see I didn't type in the file path name correctly. So we can do this, but honestly, it's a big pain. So what we're going to do instead is create buttons with links. So I'll go back into my index.html because from here I want to have two buttons that will take me to these two new pages that we've created. So I'll go to my Sublime Text, close these, and now I'll zoom in. We're going to create two buttons here. So we really should have these all encompassed in div tags like I was saying previously. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Since we're experts, we'll do div. We'll give it an ID of container, since this div will hold everything that's inside of our body. And then I'll do another div called main. So this will be the main part of our body. And then we'll go ahead and end these two divs over here. Make sure that we close them in anticipation. So that'll be, and we'll use comments here just to help us out a little bit. So this will be the end of, again, recall we use comments by typing that in, and anything we type in between here is not going to get interpreted by the browser. So I will type in the comment ending of our container div right here, just so we don't get confused, because these endings and these divs can get really confusing really quickly. And then I'll do another ending of a div tag. And then right here, I will put space it, give it proper spacing. And then here, I'll put ending of our main div. Okay, that's just for me so I don't get confused. And now everything is in a nice div. Go ahead and we can center these divs, and I'll make sure it's centered by taking that out and then putting it up here, making sure that all these divs are going to be encompassed in a center tag. All nice and good. Okay, so let's make this a little neater by tabbing a little bit. We'll get rid of these extra spaces, give it a little bit right there. And so now what we want to do is we want to add in some buttons. And the way we do this is we do an input tag. Type is equal to button. So this will just create a button. I'm going to go ahead and save it, zoom out, and we'll reload this. Open in browser. Now if I look here, I have a cool button. You can't really see it too well, so let me go ahead and zoom in. We have a button right here. Doesn't do anything, doesn't have any value, doesn't say anything, it's just a button that's there. So now instead, let's give it a value of, hey, push me. That's what the button's going to say. So whatever I put in this value field, go ahead and reload this. Now we can see that this button says, hey, push me. We're pushing it, but it still doesn't do anything. Okay. Well, now let's make this button do something. So I know a lot of people might have a complaint about what I'm going to do right here, but I want this button. Let's make two buttons. I'm going to copy this, paste it, button 1, button 2, and we'll give these buttons a line break so that we can give them some spacing. We'll again open this in the browser. We zoom out. So we have button 1 that says, hey, push me, button 2 that says, hey, push me. Cool, but now instead of saying, hey, push me, let's change this to family roster and then family dinner. We'll save that. And now we really want these buttons to go somewhere. We want it so when they're pushed that they actually do something. And I can do that by adding an href tag equals. And then I'm going to put the path name that I want this to go to. I'll do that in just one sec once I add in the href. In anticipation, I'm going to go ahead and close these tags. And I want these tags to encompass the button. So that's why my button is sort of sandwiched in there. And by default right now, we don't have it going to the pages that we want it to go to. I think we'll do that in the next tutorial. We'll start wrapping this one up, but before we do, I want to show you that we can get these buttons to go to any website that we want it to by typing in http:// and this tells your computer, hey, we're about to leave our local area and we're trying to connect out onto the web. So that's what that indicates, www.google.com for the first one, and then for this one we can do something like http, right? HTTP, not HTTP, http:// www. something like facebook.com. And if we save these and zoom out, we will open this back up in the browser. Now we see we have our two buttons here, family roster and family dinner. Now since we've added those a tags and we've given it a source of a website, now if we click this family roster, you see that will be sent to Google because we typed in the Google URL right there. And similarly, if we click the family dinner button, you see that we are taken to Facebook. That'll wrap it up for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe.